Finally, after 2.5 long years, the best Star Wars show is back on television. If you remember the release of Andor Season 1, you know that this thing made a damn splash. Though Andor did not get as high ratings as some other Star Wars shows around the same time, the reception and discussion were through the roof. Creator Tony Gilroy walked into Lucasfilm with an almost entirely new set of writers and directors, and made the most complex and immersive world Star Wars had seen since the OT. Hell, some non-Star Wars fans were saying that this show was better than the original trilogy, which is a tough sell, but the experience really was something else. Every person you meet sitting somewhere in the gray area in a franchise fueled off of black and white, good versus bad conflicts. Finally, in the age of dusty, drab, mediocre Disney projects, there was a shining diamond. But of course, since Disney has to crank out about 30 more of those mediocre ones, Andor was shelved until now. And the question remains, does it still have the sauce? Well, our first 3 episodes are here, and I have a complicated answer to that question, so it's time to jump in. Andor Season 2 picks up a full year after Season 1, and really does not give us a whole lot of explanation about what happened in that time. All we know is this. Our boy Cassian is transporting a stolen Imperial ship for Luthen's rebellion, Dedra Meero has ascended the ranks to now be in a boardroom with Ben Mendelsohn, helping to build a Star Wars, Vel Sartha is being kept in the dark by Luthen about the whereabouts of her partner, Cinta, Bix Colleen and the gang are hiding out on the planet Mina Rao, and Mon Mothma's daughter's wedding has managed to take up a full 365 days. Let's start with Cassian. This very first scene with Cassian and nervous Imperial plant Nia is immediately one of my favorite scenes across all 3 episodes we've seen. Here we have yet another gray area. Nia admits in this scene that she has come to like working for the Empire in some respects, since it is a completely comfortable environment for her. We are challenged to believe that not every Empire goon is so chaotically evil in the way the OT would have presented them. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but it's yet another bit of proof that Andor is taking things in a different direction. In that scene, 2 lines are dropped, which are both some of the best yet. One is from Cassian to Nia, as he says something along the lines of, "You're returning to yourself," perfectly characterizing the impact of Imperial propaganda. I also love Nia's line to Cassian about the possibility of her death, and if it will be worth it, a sentence that practically encapsulates the entire series, and I would guess Cassian's arc throughout this season leading to his ultimate fate. Hell, poor Nia probably will die here. I doubt Luthen has a contingency plan for her considering his perspective on the rebellion, and Cassian does not make a clean exit at all. She will be just another pawn to fall before the generation that follows her can be free. The rest of Cassian's plotline is weird. It certainly did not have the best reception, and I can see why. Cassian learns that his contact, whose name is quite literally Porco, has been intercepted and killed by a squad of college-age rebels who can barely come up with a plan to climb a tree without dissolving into arguments. Their name is the Maya Pei Brigade, and they are kind of just a bunch of goofballs. I understand their role in the show, which is a similar one to Nia's, or really any of the Aldhani heist team from Season 1. The Maya Pei Brigade portrays a side of the rebellion that is really going to hinder the attempts of Cassian more than anything, the very thing that the Empire tries to take advantage of in this same episode. The issue is that this continues on for 2 whole episodes, and the kids are just annoying quippers who really overstay their welcome. Cassian doesn't get a whole lot of time to develop or provide any sort of information besides trying to help one side defeat the other, and then he just simply bails out of nowhere, and the group gets eaten by dinosaurs or whatever. This arc is just painfully representative of early season jitters, which will more than likely have no effects going forward and will simply be forgotten about. Not a great start for our leading man. On the planet Chandrila, we begin to see a tradition this season, which is our characters getting way over their heads and running into walls they didn't see coming. This is especially clear with Mon Mothma, who is essentially getting bombs dropped left and right of her while her daughter that doesn't even like her gets engaged to a criminal's kid. Mon realizes how money-centric the minds of her compatriots are through Tay Koma, her friend from the previous season. Tay, who has failed to make much of a profit from his partner the rebellion and whose life is spiraling quickly, makes multiple suspicious references requesting more benefit for his actions or else. This is paralleled by the bizarre traditions of Shangri-La weddings, which are so utterly complicated and pointless that both Mon and her cousin Vel appear out of place and confused each time that they are cut to. Little do we know that there is a second layer to this, as Tay himself is in over his head, not understanding the consequences of his actions. Luthen, sinister as always, makes plans for Tay's assassination practically seconds after he hears from Mon about his remarks, throwing her for a complete loop. Vel is even more surprised when she discovers that the person who will be taking out Tay is none other than Cinta, who is honestly the perfect reveal for this minor subplot. Cinta was always somewhat implied throughout Season 1 to be more fit for Luthen's rebellion than even Vel. Cinta is cold and ruthless, while Vel is louder and less complacent. Though Vel is the better leader, Cinta is the perfect follower, and the exchange of looks they share suggests very different paths for them going forward. I like. Mon's plotline is worrying, considering her inability to think like either Tay or Luthen, but knowing her ultimate outcome, it's highly likely that we'll see Mon harden throughout the course of this season into a more aware and outspoken rebel. Her final scene parading through the Shangri-La planet, physically thrusting the stress out of her rigid body, is easily one of the most artful and poetic scenes yet, and more than makes up for the coloring of these first 3 episodes' settings being slightly gaudy. I will say that I'm looking forward to a location that is more similar to Season 1's prison and less like a vulgarly green swamp planet. As we see more of the Empire, their parallels to Luthen's rebellion become clear, not in beliefs, but in technique. We are introduced to Orson Krennic as Dedra Meero's new superior, as she is now at the same level of power as her previous major, Partagaz. Krennic plans a societal takeover of the planet Gorman for both their silk and their minerals that involves concealing information from other Empire members and breeding distrust between their targets instead of participating in any rivalry themselves. Luthen similarly hides his best players in small places and often has plans to remove problematic members of his own force at the ready. I would not be surprised if we see something similar go down with the Empire's board this season, since while Dedra is slightly repulsed by Krennic's behavior, she then instantly turns and plots the manipulation of Gorman people, implying that she will only fall further down the Empire's rabbit hole. I even have a prediction that Dedra will eventually cause the demise or removal of Partagaz as a symbol of her ascendance. Dedra ultimately is a person who is not exactly evil, since she does not take joy in ruining lives. What she truly takes joy in is having any semblance of power, which she takes by any means. So, of course, despite possessing very little actual love for Cyril Karn, his desperate appreciation of her is enough for her to join him in a relationship where she very obviously wears the pants. Though this pairing is obviously sort of ridiculous, I can actually see how both Cyril and Dedra would want this, Cyril emotionally and Dedra strategically. Really, though, the main driving force of our first trio of episodes is Bix Colleen's group. This plotline has gotten easily the most attention from both detractors and fans for its political overtones, and I want to talk about why both parties are kind of wrong. Ultimately, I believe that calling attention to the deportation of immigrants and sexual assault through power are both perfectly fitting for the series' tonality and themes of rebellion against an oppressive government. Calling either of these things woke should get your internet card taken away for the day. On the other hand, I feel like the portrayal of both of these things are a bit heavy-handed. The symbolism is already crystal clear, and hearing Lieutenant Kroll, bastard that he is, quite literally call Bix undocumented is just breaking any subtlety that was left. When Bix says, "he tried to rape me," it unfortunately breaks the intensity for me, since it feels as if she's talking straight through the screen. The scene of Bix's assault itself is done incredibly well, continually cross-cut with the partying on Shangri-La to represent how ignored and underrepresented the worse off can be. The physical performance Adria Arjona contributes to this scene is well deserving of praise. Sadly, the dialogue just didn't do it for me. And also Brasso died. What the hell, man? Andor episodes 1 to 3 could be seen as a bit worrying. 3-episode arcs, which are immediately followed by a time skip, are difficult, since you are pressured to either shove an entire major storyline for a character into just 3 entries, or completely leave a character by the wayside by giving them something inconsequential to do. Nonetheless, it's not like I don't have hope for Andor Season 2 anymore. This first set has told us a lot of positive things too. Tony Gilroy and the gang still know exactly how to present a character through like 7 different lenses at the same time. Diego Luna, Genevieve O'Reilly, Adria Arjona, and the rest have all proven their acting chops have gone nowhere, though I would really like to see a bigger role from Stellan Skarsgård before I start complimenting him, because that motherfucker set a high bar in Season 1. And plus, all the critics have already said that the best episodes are around the middle and end, which can be expected from a series such as this. Hell, the first season followed that exact pattern. So while Season 2 kicks off with a bit of a mess, I'm still going to say that the first arc gets about a 7 out of 10, and I'll keep my hopes high for next week. See you then. Bye now.